Hangover came out in 2008 and is directed by Todd Phillips, stars Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach Galifianakis. Those are the three leads. There's also a plethora. Hopefully I just used that right. Three Amigos has taught me the word plethora. Anyway, of co-stars too, like Justin Bartha, and you got Heather Graham, Mike Tyson shows up, Mike Epps, Kim Jong. There's a lot of, and also Rob Riggle too. There's a ton of other people. I'm just spacing their names at the moment. But anyway, I hadn't watched this movie for quite a few years, and I pushed play on my Blu-ray. Gave the option of the theatrical cut or the unrated cut. Now I watched the unrated version. I got the film right here. However, looking at it, I think the only difference is about 8 minutes of footage. I think I only remember one little scene during the wedding. There was some different wedding stuff that happened in this cut, the unrated cut of the film. So that's the only thing I really noticed that was really kind of different. I thought it was a good little scene, something relating to their car that they take out. That Jeffrey Tambor, I forgot to mention him, that he loans them their car, but it's a wedding gift. That's the only thing I really caught. But anyway, quick little my personal history with The Hangover before I get too into it. In 2008, I actually watched this in the movie theater, and the movie theater was completely packed, sold out show. I loved those big opening weekends for these big block films. Hangover was one I remember in 2008. Also, The Dark Knight, Iron Man was another one. There's quite a. If I think about it hard enough, I probably can think of a couple other ones I went to see at that time. But The Hangover was kind of a unique thing. I went to see with a group of friends. And I kind of remember the trailer being funny, but at the same time, didn't know, if how good it was going to be. And I had a blast watching this movie. We all did. The whole theater was rocking. We were all laughing hysterically. And it was probably one of my favorite movie-going experiences that I've had, especially as such a movie fan at that time. Granted, my taste has kind of evolved or aged a little better since I've kind of watched more and more movies and got developed my film taste, if you will. But The Hangover is one of those movies that I have rewatched over the years, not quite as frequently as other comedies that I really do enjoy. And I find myself still enjoying the experience, but not laughing hysterically with each viewing. I should also mention that in 2008, when I did originally watch the movie, I actually took my dad the very next day to watch the film. And the funny thing, his review was, I've never seen a film more rude, crude, or socially unacceptable in my entire life, but I absolutely found hilarious. So that's my dad's quick little takes on the movie, and we had a fun time watching this. And even the second time watching it back to back, I still really enjoyed my time with this movie. Rewatching it after I haven't seen this movie, I guess for a couple years now, I would say, and I totally forgot there was an unrated version. So we did, like I said, we watched that version of the film, and I found myself in 2021 still laughing at a few of the jokes. Not every joke lands or is even, I guess, air quotes, acceptable in 2021 eyes. So it doesn't really age entirely well for me. But the big thing about this movie that really works is the three leads of Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and Zach Galifianakis. Now, these are bigger name stars nowadays, but back then, I think Bradley Cooper was really like the face of the face that everybody was really tuning into. I think you could mention a little bit of Ed Helms for The Office, his work in The Office, and Galifianakis was the unknown for me. Granted, he might have been more of an underground comic at the time, but now he has skyrocketed to a lot of things, especially in the early 2010s. Bradley Cooper has since gone on to great success with MCU projects. He plays the voice of Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's directed great movies like Star is Born, and got nominated for Oscars for, American Sniper, and a few other performances that I have enjoyed over the years too. And Ed Helms, even though he doesn't have as great success compared to the other two actors, he still had that Office credibility there. He was Andy Bernard. I wasn't a huge fan of that character when he first was introduced, but he kind of redeemed himself near the end of the show for me. And it's kind of great to see these three actors, these three unlikely duos, lead this film to such a raucous journey, if you will. Now, if you haven't watched this movie in a long time, let me just refresh your memory on the plot of the film. It's about the four friends, these three guys that we mentioned already, and also Justin Bartha's character, who plays Doug. Doug is getting married, so it's their bachelor party weekend. They go out of town for the night, and they have a night that they can't remember, or a night they won't forget, but eventually they can't remember. Something happens where they think they got drugged, and they try to piece the evening together, one clue at a time. They're trying to find their friend Doug as well. Doug has disappeared. They have a baby in their hotel room. There's a tiger in the bathroom, and they stole a cop car. All these things and much more slowly unravel as the day progresses through the course of the film. Such an outrageous plot. A lot of craziness does ensue in this film, and it's still ridiculous. It's just as ridiculous as you remember it being. Watching it now, I think it's kind of funny that this director, Todd Phillips, directed obviously these 3 Hangover movies, but he's also an Oscar-nominated director now with the film Joker. I really love Joker. I put it as one of my favorite films of 2019. That movie, obviously, if you haven't seen it, stars Joaquin Phoenix. But Todd Phillips, I didn't really remember a lot of the movies that his name was attached to, but looking back at his filmography, we see that he's directed about 14 films. Some of the ones I've seen pretty much all of them. I think I don't I haven't seen some of his earlier work, mind you, but I've seen the Hangover movies. I've seen Joker. Due Date was one that I kind of mentioned roughly with Robert Downey Jr. and Galifianakis, but he's basically playing Alan, the same character he played in The Hangover. So I thought that was kind of And Old School was one of those Will Ferrell comedies that I didn't actually watch a whole lot of. Granted, when that movie came out, I was a little too young, so I hadn't really gone back and rewatched it. And I remember when I finally did watch it, it was really kind of enjoyable, and it was kind of a fun film. He directed Road Trip, and there's one of the films I do remember, School for Scoundrels, which came out in 2006 with Billy Bob Thornton and stars John Heder from Napoleon Dynamite fame. So anyway, I remember that movie. Don't remember too much about it. I just remember watching it. And I think we had the DVD of that for whatever reason. Anyway, back to The Hangover. The Hangover is one of those cultural phenomenons that you cannot, you remember where you were when you watched it. I remember 2008 was such a crazy year for film, because we had, The Dark Knight, one of the movies that was really skyrocketing the award scene. I believe you also had, Avatar that year, and you had quite a lot. You had a lot of big movies, and I remember going and watching a lot of film in theater, but never remember laughing this hard. I think for comedies, for me personally, is that the bigger the crowd, the better the experience is. Not all the times that's true, however, but The Hangover was one of those movies that definitely elevated the material far more than what it actually does deliver on. The size of the crowd, when the crowds get going, you kind of laugh with them as well. And rewatching now, I did still laugh at a lot of the jokes, like I said, but a lot of them don't really land too much for me. I really love the performances from the 3 leads. I think they all have great chemistry here. The big kind of standout for me in this one, obviously, I think you had to go with Zach Galifianakis. I think he has the highest character performance here, or if you will, I don't know what the guys say too. He's really good in the movie. However, I don't know if it's such a great war, because he just basically takes that character and uses it for every single other movie that he does. And that's kind of annoying for me. I don't like that. And the biggest hindrance that makes this movie even not as good as I remember it being is because they made sequels to it. And obviously the second film was basically a rehash of this first film. And you have the third movie, which wasn't really funny at all. And I didn't really care for it. My biggest takeaway and biggest thing about the movie was that it captures this unique feel that Vegas is the city that never sleeps. There's so many crazy things that you can get into and do in Vegas that you can't really experience in like your average cities. Some of my favorite bits in this movie was when Rob Riggle and his partner show up, and they get arrested for stealing this cop car, and they have to get tased or they can get off. So they don't get charged for this. And seeing these kids tase these 3 guys, I think that's a great scene. I really think that's a really funny comedic moments there. And another one, seeing, them interact with Heather Graham, and when they finally find Doug, and Ken Jeong shows up, and that is a very shocking reveal. I think this is one of his first movies he's ever been in, and it is quite shocking to say the least. Yeah, I was not expecting that whatsoever when I first watched it. I think overall, though, in closing, my thoughts on this movie is that this is a movie that you definitely have better memories. Remember watching it. You have better memories watching this movie like back in the day than maybe the movie actually is. Maybe a little bit of nostalgia and memories do play a factor into this. And seeing this movie on the big screen definitely made it one of the better movies of 2008 for me. Looking back at it now, yeah, it's still a very fun, enjoyable movie that is flawed, and it's not as good as I remember it being, but I'm still going to give it a passable grade of about 3 stars because it is kind of fun. It is kind of dumb at times, but there's something about it that I really like how it looks and how it feels, and some of the gags work, some don't, but it's these characters we're taking this journey with, and I find it kind of a fun journey. Let me know in the comments section down below what you guys think of The Hangover. If you guys like it, if you not like it, let me know down there. And if you're listening to this on audio if you're listening to this on audio form, make sure you guys check out Adam Sideways for my personal Twitter, and Almost Sideways. Let us know what your thoughts are there.